Hello, and welcome to Media Literacy at WHSK. This is Julie at Bloomsburg University. Today we have three guests, Jada Ganser, Nora Malarkey, and Joe Egan. We are discussing the pandemic and the switch to using technology for just about everything, as well as talking about how it affected them all individually. Both Jada and Nora had their freshman year cut short from the pandemic, while Joe had his senior year of high school cut short. Transitioning to online classes was a little different for everyone, especially depending on the type of student you are. From what you can remember, how were your grades before the pandemic started?
I've always been a pretty good student. My grades were pretty good, but my test scores weren't the best. But everything else was pretty high.
My grades, they've always been average. I wouldn't say I was at the top of the class, but I wouldn't say I had one of the lower averages.
So, before the pandemic, in high school, I was probably a solid C to B student. Most difficult part about transitioning to online classes was trying to teach yourself the material.
What was the most difficult part about transitioning to only online classes?
Probably teaching myself the material and having to be very self-motivated and self-efficient.
I definitely think the social aspect, not seeing people in classes and just talking to students more often.
Trying to teach yourself the material that is being taught, because it was just harder to pay attention in class online.
How did you notice that your grades changed during these online classes, if they changed at all?
My test scores went up, not because I was cheating, but most of our tests were able to be open book with the pandemic, so I guess the tests were easier.
I honestly think my grades got better from doing online classes. I was able to not worry about so many people around me, and I was just kind of able to focus on myself and my schoolwork.
During the pandemic, my grades were definitely better. Honestly, just because it was a little bit easier to look up answers.
Did you find yourself paying more or less attention to the material being taught while you were taking these online classes?
Definitely less. I would lay in bed sometimes in class. I wouldn't take notes. All the lectures were posted, so I would just have them always available.
I honestly think it helped both sides. I was able to focus more on my schoolwork from being home and not distracted by so many other outside factors, but I also think that it was also a little bit harder because I was able to do classes from the comfort of my home, and I didn't necessarily have to turn the camera on if I didn't want to, and I didn't have to devote my whole attention to the class if I didn't necessarily want to.
So I would pay more attention to in-person classes. Online classes, I wouldn't really pay attention because I would get pretty easily distracted by everything around me.
After the transition back to in-person classes, when you were making your schedule, did you try to find more online classes or continue to find the in-person classes? If you did try to find more online classes, why do you think you tried to find those classes?
I liked having online classes. I didn't have to go to campus. I didn't have to get out of bed. I would definitely try to find asynchronous classes online that I could do on my own time. I am self-efficient, so it was easy for me to get those done.
Yes, I did try to find more online classes. I just felt that it worked better for my learning, and I was better doing classes at my own pace and being at home rather than in classrooms. I find classrooms kind of are distracting for me.
So I did not try to find more online classes. I definitely needed in-person classes to understand what's actually going on and to be more engaged in the material.
Just from these three guests today, we can see how differently the pandemic and online classes impacted everyone. It gave some people the option to continue learning basically at their own pace, while it allowed others to realize they need to be in class to pay attention and keep up with their grades. Having these online classes shows students their weaker points, and having the freedom to have either open note tests or just signing on to a Zoom and not participating in their classes for the day. Some students were able to adjust, while others struggled and realized this is not something for them and went back to in-person classes as soon as they could. Although having this ability for online classes is useful when someone is sick or we go through something like this so we aren't missing material, there is a big learning curve here. We have to quickly be able to do something completely different than we have been used to for most of our years in school, while also holding ourselves accountable for our own learning and assignments.